us apart again. Love will tear us apart again.
So this is a recording of another date that a JW member came over trying to indoctrinate my kids again. So this is not the first three videos from last time. That was all one session separated by 3 parts. This will be another meeting, but it's different. And in this case, my youngest, she just doesn't want to appear to this, and she excused herself to her room. She just disappears. And my other child, she got frustrated by this whole ordeal, and she also excused herself to her room. Mind you, supposedly the reason why this JW member is here was to sit and study with my wife. That was the whole impression, and then what they have told me, which I didn't care either way. But they were really there to try to indoctrinate my kids. The one won't have nothing to do with it, and the other one they're trying to take advantage of because of some issues, but I won't get into that. But she is not having it. So what you're hearing now is my wife sort of lamenting about my child leaving this meeting here, and they try to kind of make her stay there so they can listen to the answer of a question that my child had weeks before, that this woman went back and did research on. And but by this time my child lost interest and was like, whatever, I'm going to leave anyway. So my wife is really upset, and she's appealing to me somewhat to say, hey, try to get her out here to listen to her answer. And I'm like, well, she made a personal decision not to listen to you guys this time around, and I'm not going to force her. That's not the way to conduct things around here with my kids. You don't force them to do anything like that. But obviously she had other ideas, and we didn't see eye to eye on this.
But yeah, I was hoping she'd just come out just to get her question answered, but she's just not in the mood.
Yes? She's a teenager.
I know. You could have helped me.
Can't force her to come out here.
Not force her, just encourage her.
It seems that forcing and encouraging are pretty much the same thing in Jehovah Witness language. This is my opinion. She's got questions she can answer. She can ask us.
That was her question, though. But she asked it just while sleeping all the...
What question?
About the headship thing.
Okay.
And why I choose to wear a scarf when I pray. Do you not think that's in the Bible, even though...
It's there, yeah, but then there's another passage saying that the hair of the woman is considered a covering, so...
No, it's the hair is not the glory.
I don't want to get into it. Yeah, but that's there. I would have to read it for myself.
Yeah.
And figure out what, but it's not a salvation issue, so I don't care about it really.
But it is an issue of respect.
Issue of respect. They always come up with that answer, especially the first questions that my kids had about the dress code. Why do we need to be dressed up in a dress and 3-piece suits and whatnot to go to the meetings? And they always bring it around respect, where the Bible clearly states you come with your heart, not with what you're wearing. This case was the head coverings for women when they're speaking to men in giving a class or something. They have to have a head covering if there's not if they are baptized men in the crowd. And again, she comes up with the respect excuse, where the Bible really doesn't clearly states it to be about respect.
It's respecting the position of the husband, that he is the one that is supposed to, according to the Bible.
But as far as I'm concerned, I know she's got respect for me and I have respect for her, so there's no reason for that to do it all the time, so, you know, I mean...
Well, because you're not, as far as Jehovah's Witnesses are concerned, or even Catholics in wearing a head covering, if the man is not baptized into the religion that the wife is doing, it's not necessary to have a covering.
It's not in the Bible, though, being baptized too.
So I don't have to wear a head covering on him when I pray?
I'm not, we could look that up.
I think, I'm supposed to, according to our understandings of it right now.
Someone who's studying, but it might be though, see, I've already forgotten. It may be that the husband, that you being married, even though he's not a baptized Jehovah's Witness, maybe that you were
a Christian. You call yourselves Christian. I consider myself a Christian now. So we are under...
Well, a Christian actually just follows Jesus.
Okay, so then...
And lots of people
we're in the same club, supposedly. Though I don't follow Jehovah's Witness dogma. But I am a Christian.
Yes, I mean, if you believe that Jesus Christ died for you,
yes,
that's the factor.
Okay, so it's more of a dogmatic thing between denominations.
When you say dogmatic, what are you
arbitrary rules, some denominations.
Well, it'll be in the Bible. If Jehovah's Witnesses
so is killing your kids if they misbehave in the Old Testament.
No.
We don't follow that anymore. So
there are stronger reasons for killing your kids, like Eli. He should have killed his kids. Jehovah killed them. There are further...
And there's many other examples of, things that we don't do in the Bible that is not appropriate now, So when you guys talk about God's standards, what standards? There's a whole bunch of standards in there. And we can't possibly follow them all.
No, they're not. It's not Deuteronomy. Those are laws.
Right.
It's principles. And there's very few principles.
So there's only two laws really that satisfies the law, or the commandments above all commandments is to love God with all your heart and all that, and to love your brother as you do yourself. Yeah. With that satisfies everything.
It satisfies everything. The law and the prophets.
So
and then there is a command that Jesus said, make disciples.
True, but there's always a gray area there too. What if you tell them that? What if you go out going door to door, spreading a false teaching? Now you're condemning those people. The Bible, he also warned that, or I think Paul was the one that said, brothers, not all of you should be teachers, because you will be judged more harshly than, anybody else.
Well, if you're not teaching what Jehovah has written, if you're teaching lies, you are, and they actually follow it, and they're not like the Bereans and read and on their own.
But there's always a gray area there. I just don't believe in the black and white, off, on, hot, cold sort of theology. There's always a caveat to it's kind of like in the military. In the military, there is a rule there.
Right.
We must obey all the rules that let's say a commander gives us and everything. Right. But from the beginning, that's a rule. From the beginning, though, one of the stipulations was as long as it's a lawful order. So a commander comes by and say, go go into this village and take all the cattle and kill them, let's say.
Yeah.
That's an unlawful order, and we have the right to say, no, that's not lawful. So the Bible also has, within the intricacies, what was that?
I said that must be the new government.
It's always been there, but rules get thrown away, or the heat of the moment, I mean, it depends on the leadership.
Usually it was you follow orders.
And that's the perfect example. It just depends on the leadership. You gotta test the leadership constantly. You can't, just because they did 50 years of good, you can't drop your guard on a leader and follow, what he's saying. You gotta compare it to what the Bible says, and there's always a caveat. There's always a way out.
I'm not sure where is there an example? Because a principle allows.
I have many, but I just don't want to get into it because it would just open up a big can of worms, and that's within every organization, every one of them.
Well, it is constantly, light is constantly making the information, or the information is becoming lighter. There are things that 50 years ago, we have corrections on understanding things.
I know, and I do go to your website and read all the corrections or clarifications, but and that's opening up a big can of worms I don't want to get into. Principle allows you to use your conscience to make a decision. It's a law doesn't give you any room. A principle does. It isn't black and white. A principle has. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, I have a perfect example of not following what you've been told. You guys teach that Jerusalem was destroyed in 607 BCE.
Oh no, that's okay, kind of one.
Yeah, it is, but it's an example.
Time change, because others say that it's a different time.
Mostly all of them say that it was destroyed. Even the Jewish authorities say it was destroyed in 586 BCE. And they always find, proof of that and everything in various forms. So with that,
well, I read that thing that you told me to go to, but I also read a clarification on it, and it did make sense to me.
About 607?
Yeah.
From who?
It was a scholar, it wasn't witnesses, but I forget now. But I looked it up before when you told me to look it up.
You would have to show me because I need proof.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure.
There is no way on earth that my wife could research what I told her to look up about 607 BCE and 586 BCE and come to the conclusion that she just told me right there. There's no way unless she went to jw.org for her research. So I called her out. I said, hey, where's the proof? Show me. I want to see it. And of course, she doesn't know, doesn't remember, or she can't produce the goods. Later in this conversation here, the same conversation, they try to pull my punk card and call me out with my references that I had. And I was like, oh, wait, it's downstairs in the library. I'll go and get it and show you the original documents. So they try to turn things around on me later on, and you'll hear that, but it falls flat on their face. Like the Marines, I'm going to go back and reference everything in paperwork. So I got your guys' material, secular material, and so forth from left to right. Nothing is left unturned when I do my research. That's why I kind of talk somewhat authoritative about it, because I got all this reference about it. But I will feel real bad going door to door telling people that you have to, not that you have to, the discreet and faithful slave was picked in 1918 because Jesus came down in 1914, and you know the runaround.
Yeah.
The runaround of 1914 is because Daniel talked about the 7 times 7 in Nebuchadnezzar and this and that. And I know the math and everything.
Yeah.
And the kickoff point that you guys chose, and who chose the kickoff point of Jerusalem being destroyed to start the time of when those years. I mean, could it be also be done when Jesus died and then the 1520 years after that? You guys claim, or the governing body claim, that they're not inspired in 1913 in one of the publications. So how are they getting that information?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You know, next time you visit, I'll print out the watchtower that says that the governing power is not infallible and what's that other word they use? Or inspired.
Well, no human is
Right, so
inspired now.
so my question is, then what gives them the authority to say that Jerusalem was destroyed in 607 when it wasn't? I mean, they have no proof really.
That's their understanding of it.
The understanding, but
If it changes,
I'm sure within the next 30 or 40 years or whatever, they're going to come out with what you guys call new light, saying that, oh, you were wrong. Jerusalem was actually destroyed in 586, 20 years more. So with that means Jesus didn't come in 1914, he came in 1931. The faithful and discreet slave that they say that they were picked in 1918 really wasn't picked in 1918. They weren't picked at all because Jesus wasn't there. And that's coming from your guys' material.
yeah, you'll have to show me that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also, has it changed? Has there been new light since that happened?
From what?
From the article you're talking about to now.
How old is the
Has there
article?
been new
Which
light?
article?
That you were
talking about,
you were going to show
now.
her
About...
the watchtower.
You're going to print it out.
No, but you guys still claim that you have no inspiration from anything to come up of
Well,
the
I
new
mean,
light and everything.
the faithful and discreet slave believes that the information that they have is coming directly from Jesus Christ.
But they're not inspired. They're not prophets. Even though they claim they were prophets in 1972, but, since then they kind of
Yeah,
backtracked on that.
they say they're not prophets.
Yeah, but they
They're
claim
not
they did back in the day until, I think the new light that comes out
You're
is
saying
that...
things that I've never even heard.
Oh, I know, because they don't teach you that stuff. They don't show you that stuff. So I dig a bit deeper into the research, into finding out your guys' history. And that's from Charles Taze Russell onto, what do you call it?
He never claimed that he was inspired.
Oh, yeah, he has.
Charles
Charles Taze Russell,
was inspired?
well, not in them words, but he did say that the time of the end was 1914 when everything was going to be destroyed and everything was going to be, taken.
See, I've forgotten.
Oh, I got it in print downstairs from his books that started the Jehovah Witness movement, the Bible students and stuff.
Yeah, the Bible students.
Yeah, so I got all
I mean,
his
what they started doing was studying the Bible and letting the Bible interpret itself, because he knew that what the world was teaching, what the religions, the Catholic,
You should read his books then, because I don't see how he could come up with the stuff he came up with, saying that it was inspired by the Bible itself. I mean, 1914 was supposed to be the final day, and it's interesting that the society, the Watchtower Society, today they say that the anointed in 1914 that saw the events of 1914's, The actual events that they saw was the unfulfilled prophecy that Charles Taze Russell was teaching the Bible students that everything was going to be destroyed. Jesus was going to come down in 1914 during October and do away with the old system.
You know,
everything was supposed to be destroyed.
I can't just take your word for it.
Yeah, I got the books downstairs. Huh?
I don't actually care to study that.
Okay, well, that's the thing. It was a false prediction, a false teaching back then.
But there are lots of religions that are teaching false.
And then they don't change it when they don't change it.
Exactly. I'm not saying that there isn't any out there, but that is one of the biggest reasons why I'm not a Jehovah's Witness.
But they changed their viewpoint.
When they found out it was wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you not change your viewpoint if you found out it was wrong?
Because they were wrong multiple times. That was just one of them.
Because they're Bible students.
They were
just studying, and
here I am, a Bible student,
and they're trying to figure it out.
And the Bible also said during Deuteronomy, when there's a false teaching or a false prophet, if it doesn't come to be in the Old Testament, they say to kill that prophet. In the New Testament, Jesus just says, don't follow that prophet. So, Jesus, of course, made things a lot more bearable today, so that's why I don't follow you guys.
What is it in the Bible that you follow?
I follow everything that Jesus says in the Bible.
What about just what the Gospels say?
Yeah, of course. That's what makes Christians a Christian. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. You follow that? Not follow it, but believe it.
The Bible says that everything that it's inspired, the whole Bible.
Yeah, it's inspired
and used for teaching and reproving.
Right, and that's my basis of everything that I do now, and how I judge people from their actions, right? From the fruits of that they're bearing, right?
Well, yeah, it's the fruits. So what does Jesus say that we're supposed to do?
Very predictable. Again, she's trying to change the subject and trying to say that seems like the only law commandment that Jesus ever gave was to go out and make disciples. But I'm retorting her statement by the two commandments that supersedes all other commandments, which I would say right now to her again to remind her what those were. To love God with all your heart, and to love man, as your brother, as you love yourself. Mm-hmm. The two rules that supersede every other rule.
What about making disciples?
He did say that, but if you're teaching somebody the wrong things to begin with, then the blind is leading the blind
Who is following what Jesus says?
Christians. You asked me that last time.
Okay. World War II, was it? Was 90% Catholics on both sides killing each other. The Pope was praising both sides. The priests were standing up in front of the armies saying, God's with you, and they killed each other. Is that loving your brother?
Sure. No, of course not.
They still do it.
Sure. Okay. We know that they were false to begin with.
You would be doing that too. Like if we went to war.
I'll be defending...
Would this be God's country?
Huh?
Is this God's country?
No, but Hitler was evil.
Yeah, true, but...
True, so there was a force put together to combat the tyranny of Hitler and his Axis power. That's history.
So
if we let Hitler do what he was going to do, I wouldn't have been here because I'm a minority, and he would have killed my family a long time ago.
But what happens?
Your family are Slavic. They were enslaved.
What happens to your family if they're killed? What does the Bible say? What happened?
Are you changing the subject?
No, we're talking about the same thing.
I haven't read up on that yet. I'm not decided, so I'm not going to say.
Okay. Part of the religion say that you go to heaven.
Uh-huh.
You die. If you do not defend your country and you die, you go to heaven.
Well, that's wrong, and we all know that. So they're using the Bible to manipulate people to do their bidding, and that's been done for eons. So
But
that's
I mean,
just a tactic of...
We don't have to defend our country because we either die and are resurrected
See, that's the black and white sort of thinking that is out there. Yeah, we of course, there's a war, you defend yourself during a war. The whole purpose of war is to kill each other, to stop the other oppressor to do whatever.
But if we don't
what's the
kill,
alternative if we don't?
we die.
And
we go to heaven.
Well, we don't die to go to heaven. We die to we fight to live, to have a better life here on earth. In the meantime, because, of course...
I'm not picking on Catholics, but Catholics, Presbyterians, Lutherans, they all believe that if they die, they go to heaven.
Wrong. Again, this is a straw man argument or red herring, saying that those denominations say that we all go to heaven. That's not true. Those denominations also teach that they go to hell. The righteous goes to heaven or Abraham's bosom until Jesus comes back, or you go to the other side of the abyss or hell afterwards. There's two outcomes, not one like they teach. So she's trying to tell me other religions' dogma where they don't even research other people's dogma to find out exactly what they teach. But that is not the reason why they go. I mean, some wars, they use that as an excuse to go to war and everything. But the majority of people will defend themselves to have a better life, so they won't be turned into slaves and and things like that.
We don't have to defend anything because Jehovah's going to take care of us one way or the other. We don't go to war.
But in the meantime, we're left to our own devices. He left us on our own until he comes back.
No. We have God in our... Just because Jesus isn't here doesn't mean that we're not being taken care of.
True. He gives us the ability to come up with these inventions to make our lives a little bit better.
It doesn't matter if our country survives or not. The ultimate thing is that this is going to be a restored earth.
Like
our death.
I know that. We know that, and that drives me nuts because...
What, waiting on God's kingdom?
No, we're all waiting for it.
Yeah,
but in the meantime,
we have to live. We have to live like we were in it. Like
we have a spiritual.
True, but it's not here yet. It's not here yet. That's what
but if you're getting involved in political affairs, it's still like
everything is politics, though. I mean,
it doesn't affect us at all. It doesn't. You have 4 years or 8 years with somebody who has...
They won't change things. It's just gonna get worse.
You guys don't even try. That's why,
because it's why. Because
so what's the point of what's his name? I use this example all the time. Martin Luther King. He was just one man, a preacher. Okay, at this point, I think they were trying to relay. So at this point, I think they're trying to relay the idea of they're going to wait on God to fix all their problems. Instead of us give them the abilities given by God and the authority given and bestowed by God to fix our own problems in the meantime. That's the idea I was trying to give to them with all these other examples. And it's quite surprising that the JW lady there was like, she doesn't care. They're not going to do anything. It won't help. And that's sort of the defeatist attitude that turned my kids off, because they're into global warming and fixing that and fixing the environment and, looking out for justice and things like that. My wife and this JW person is trying to squash that idea from them, which it's not working. So when they come up with an example of that, of what they're trying to get into now, I always bring up Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi. Two people that one of them was from the clergy, made a whole difference for a whole lot of generations of many races. And same with Gandhi. Changed the lifestyle and justice equality for his people in India through nonviolence. If they wouldn't gotten involved back then, a lot of us here in the world probably would still be not able to defend themselves, vote, drink the same water from the same fountain in the South in the United States, and all sorts of other dishonesties out there, injustices rather. So in the next recording after this, it gets heated up even more, and both my wife and this lady gang up on me and calls me out as far as, me being not spiritual enough. So that'll be interesting, and they're getting frustrated with me being there. At this point, my kids are not there. I actually shouldn't have engaged them the way I did and just waited to when the kids were actually present, but we just got into this conversation, and then one thing led to another, and obviously I pissed them off.